$220 billion of wildfires damage after years and years of guys, we have an issue, and mismanagement on everything.
Yeah.
Like, the more I look into it, the more it's problematic. What did you learn about it?
So, I mean, I even found, some clips. I don't know if you saw that of 2016 when Trump was in office and had Gavin Newsom come in, and he said, "Hey, you have to do something with these wildfires." And he's like, "Yeah, we're gonna, we have this great plan, and it's gonna be fantastic, and we're gonna move some things around and do this, and then it's all gonna be amazing." So, absolutely, Mr.
They moved some things around. It's gone.
Well, yeah, it went to Hamas and Ukraine. Yeah, that to me was super, super interesting, because literally you look at, people don't know. That's almost 10 years ago. That's crazy.
Yeah.
And they've had issues for 30 years, obviously, but just the fact that you literally had two sitting presidents having these conversations, it just makes you think, okay, so is it the state level? Is something going on the state level, or is it something to do with our government? The answer is the state level. That's what's so great about this country, is because when you live in that state, you get a vote on certain things, and you have governors and mayors that are in charge of something that the president doesn't have control over. He can advise you, but unless there's a law into place, how you run your state is how you run your state. It's very similar to a business, and that's what's great about America. Although this is also the problem where people now have understood why there is this big red wave, that you live in a state like California or New York. It's vastly different than Texas and Florida. And it's not because of the humidity or the temperature or where it's located in the country. It's who's running it and the leaders that have been running it for decades. And to your point, this is the perfect timing. Again, like we talked about, talking about TikTok, man, it's this big wave opening up people's eyes and realizing, oh, wait a minute, California has a 13, almost 14% tax. It's the highest state in any other country. You're going to spend the most tax.
Money.
They got money.
They got a lot of money.
A lot of money.
Where is it going?
To the homeless.
I always tell two Italians, people ask me from Italy, should I move to California? I'm like, brother in Christ, unless you want to open a company in tech, moving to California is literally like staying in Italy. Same amount of bureaucracy, same amount of taxes. And it reminds me of Italy. Like the way that California, for example, managed the water reminds me of how Sicily, the most mafia-focused region of Italy, manages the water. Poor water management, extreme high losses of water through the whole system that is full of holes and shit. And money that is put into the system and you don't know where it's going. Money's put into it. It just doesn't end up there.
Yeah. Versus the rest of the country.
There's a joke in Sicily. Right? There's a joke in Sicily that they've been wanting to build a bridge between Calabria and Sicily to connect Sicily to Italy. It's been a joke for the past 50 years. And the only thing you can see, there's the beginning of a bridge from one side that leads to just water because the bridge was never built. And that's what California reminds me of.
Yeah. It's taken all those dollars that you're getting from its citizens and trying to invest it into infrastructure, into the actual city or the state or the country. And then it's not going anywhere. Like, where's it going? Right? Where are you putting all that money? And that's what's so fucked up about, like, you look at, not to get too much off topic, I want to stick on the wildfires, but it's very similar to like insurance companies, right? Everything that's going on with these insurance companies.
Yep.
You're spending all this money, these premiums, all this money is going to this big pot of these companies, right? Similar to how you're getting all this money into California from its citizens. Well, now you're allocating that money. Mostly, one of their biggest budgets was because of housing, taking care of the homeless population.
Yep.
So why is it no one else in the country, no other state, has a bigger issue in homeless than this? Why? Why is that? Well, maybe there's something to do with you're not getting paid as much in California. The cost of living is too expensive. There's 1,000 reasons why California is just not profitable. So that's why you have more homeless. So if you can fix the root problem, if you can fix the issues of you're a citizen living in California, like they would probably do better by lowering the taxes in California, even though it might hurt California a little bit, because it's all the same money. So if you lower the taxes and you're having the citizens pay less, well, now they'll have more money, which means, guess what? There'll be less homeless people because they won't go broke by not trying to pay the bills. But instead, they try to be reactive instead of proactive, and now they're dumping all this money into homeless. Do you think that's going to fix the homeless population? It's clear it's not. It's gotten worse since they've done that. And now I think it was, I forget the number, I looked it up, but I think it was $18 million is what they decided to not give the firefighters in 2024. They had to cut the budget.
$18 million.
$18 million.
And yes, and it's funny, like there is a tendency in California, notice that the firefighters were the perfect example. So the firefighters promote, do something that is nice on the facade, but then not investing in it. So I'm all for integration. I like integration. I like the fact that if you pass the physical test and everything, and it is confirmed that you can be a good firefighter, I don't care who you are. And there was a huge marketing, let's say, point on having a more diverse firefighter team. It was a lot about the LGBTQ. You saw the team, you saw the pictures. And I think it's a wonderful thing if you respect the physical requirements and everything. Absolutely. While that happened, you remove budget. So let me do something that looks nice. Let me do something that is beautiful from a marketing perspective. Look at us. I am for integration. I'm for this. And then let me remove the budget. In a moment where for the past 10 years, and the video of Trump you talked about talking to Gavin Newsom says it, you knew there was an issue, and not only you didn't tackle it, you even took money off of it.
Yeah.
So one thing that is pissing me off about this situation is what the right things and what the left things. The left right now, if you look at it, including Gavin Newsom, are pointing the finger towards insurance companies. They're saying these guys will not pay back the houses. The insurance companies that want to work and make money have been saying, guys, if you do not tackle the issue of wildfires, if you do not create a grid that can sustain all this power requirement, and I remember that we've been talking about grids in California for years. Everybody talks about electric cars, but do you have the grid that satisfies everybody charging a car? No.
That's right.
You see sparks everywhere if you just look at the power grids in California.
Yeah.
And another thing, Italy might have a lot of issues, but when it comes to wildlife, we do controlled fires, where you take down all the low plants that can easily catch fire, and we have a much lower budget. Yeah. California doesn't do it to protect wildlife. I have no idea why, and it's very normal to do this in dry areas. You could have done so many things to prevent and to incentivize private companies to insure houses, and you did the exact opposite to kick them out. And now you point the finger saying it's the fault of insurance companies. And this is happening while, I remind you, 2 months ago, a big insurance company lost a CEO because of an insurance issue. This is the worst time to be a CEO, knowing that part of the population is thinking this way. Yeah. Even though the fault is not of the insurance CEO in the wildfire case.
Right. It's just perception. Yeah, that's a great point. And, not only that, but you're also like, when you have this brush and all that, like we know that that's just kindling on the fire. I mean, we know, but again, you have to always think to yourself, okay, so what's worse? Should I kill these animals to clear the brush? Even though that's not the case, by the way, they just wanted to protect, I think it was like one specific animal or something. I forget what it was, but yeah, it was one animal they wanted to protect. And that's why they didn't do it. Was it because of that? Or again, look behind the curtain. Is it because they just didn't want to do it? They would rather focus on things in the now that's more important and spend their budget on whether it be the homeless or, cleaning up San Francisco, quote unquote. Like, where are they putting that money that they can't allocate a couple $1 million to clean up some brush to potentially protect them from fires that have been going on for decades? So it's like, it's just poor leadership. It's the attitude of not allocating the right money where it needs to go to protect its citizens because you think California is going to be taken care of no matter what. And then you got a president like Biden that even came out and said, we're going to go ahead and we're going to invest X amount of dollars and give 100% forgiveness to California. It's like, personally, I don't know how that ends.
I don't want to pay for it.
That's, again, that would be me. If I'm the president, I would say, listen, man, we've warned you about this for years. Trump warned you about this for years. Like, you're going to have to clean up your own mess and figure it out. You know, it's
Yeah.
like how can you forgive? Because again, if I'm a governor, if I'm a mayor, what is my reason for correcting this issue if I know the government is just going to come in and take care of it? You know? Meanwhile, the citizens are getting the same thing that Hawaii got, $700 one time. You know? I mean,
True.
did you know like the Hawaii
Something
fires?
was.
That's all they've gotten still a year
Yeah, I
later.
remember. By the way, how did Hawaii end up? Did they rebuild? Did they sell the land to funds? What happened?
Well, apparently they said that there's no plans that it's going to get sold to any other private companies, and they've made that point. But
Okay.
the citizens are going to be able to rebuild the land. So I think from what I saw, I mean, they're clearing the last of the issues now, and it'll be a clear land. They'll be able to rebuild. But, you know, people are going to have to rebuild and rely on insurance companies to take care of it. And some people, if you don't have insurance, you're fucked. I mean, your life's ruined. So, you know, again, it's all about being, unfortunately, proactive reactive instead of proactive, right? Like all these issues that we're talking about across the country, these major disasters. That's why I love Florida. I mean, say what you want about, you know, Florida and DeSantis, but when he handles a hurricane, the guy knows what's going on. Like he handles it perfectly.
Why do you keep on, guys? Why do you keep on building where hurricanes happen and there's always a tragedy? That's another thing.
Well, you know, dissimilar to California is you look at like in California, okay, there's these wildfires, right? So let's say if you're going back into Palestine and are you gonna rebuild a house where the fires were? Of course you are.
Just building in concrete.
Right.
The house is in concrete, then burned down.
Yeah. But that's exactly right. You're just going to make it better. You're going to make it hopefully to be able to withstand fires if there is fires.
Yeah.
Very similar to Florida, where we have now built up houses to where it's by code, by law, you have to do it. And this is the difference between Florida and California, is you have to build 6 feet above. You have to build enough to where if you do get a surge in flooding, depending on where you're at in the coast, you have to do that, or insurance companies will not take care of you. Like your quote unquote flood insurance will not be handled unless you hit those requirements. Similar to windows, when you build a new house in Florida, they have to be able to withstand hurricane. I think it's category 5 windows, so like 120 or 130. So that's the standard. It has to be able to control 120 mile per hour winds.
Okay. It's
so
crazy.
Again,
Wow.
Right? Proactive, not reactive. So this is the difference where it's now going to save people time, money. It's going to help insurance companies, right? Where they're not going to want to do what they did in California, which is pull out. It's because these precautions are not put into place to protect insurance companies, small businesses.
Yeah,
and
you're in
citizens.
the business of making money. It is nice to insure, but you need to be able to survive on it.
Right.
Which then leads me to about the proactive part. California has been a bureaucratic nightmare to build. Okay,
Yeah.
there's a lot of complaints from builders about how difficult it is to get permits, how expensive it is. It reminds them a little bit of working in Canada, which is very similar. I know that California wants to rebuild a tech city by 2030. To which then comes the idea: isn't it a nice thing? To instead of restore houses and everything to a new level, to just burn down and rebuild from scratch, rebuild the grid, put something more powerful, getting money for free from the government to rebuild an entire city. Now, you know me, I'm the guy that you give me conspiracies and I have no fucking idea of what you just gave to me. Last time he told me to look at Antarctica and I just opened a can of worm, which was crazy. And now I start to understand why Americans are so infatuated with conspiracies. But now, since I'm getting used to this crap, I read stuff and I was like, this is interesting. I could either destroy and rebuild or have a city destroyed and rebuild anyway. Make it look like a tragedy, get some government money, because I know that Big Brother got my, Uncle Sam got my back.
Well,
why not? I mean, it's genius.
It is genius. Can I ask you, have you looked up this? Let me show you something real quick.
Can you share it?
For people that are just watching here. Oh, let me see if this works. Okay. So I don't know.
I saw this. I saw the high-speed rail. Oh, I saw this. Amazing.
I don't know if this is true, but I'm just telling you, that's kind of fucked up because you also look at there's been so many people that have been caught on video burning fires, like man-made fires,
Okay.
specifically in these areas. And then, of course, you know, could that be just a bunch of horrible human beings? Yeah, of course. But it's also like you go back to like the George Floyd thing with the protests, right? There was like pallets of bricks that were set outside riot areas. Have you seen those? Like
Yep.
someone said, it's not like, you know, Joe and Molly up the street decided to frickin' put a pallet of bricks by a protest. Like that was intentional somehow. And that was all over the city. So it's like, it's kind of a big coincidence. And again, I don't know if this is a true image. Maybe someone just mocked it up and put it together. But to your point, if they're looking to build a new LA and by 2028, and then you go look at the interview with Gavin Newsom, and he's talking about like rebuilding LA. Have you seen that video?
Yep.
It's kind of like put your smile down a little bit, buddy. Fake it a little bit that you're upset that your whole city's burning down. Instead, he's like excited about rebirth and we're rebuilding California. It's like, hold on, dude. You're a little bit too happy that this has become a really easy government project.
Just focus on the moment.
And
focus on the moment for a second.
And worry about that later, buddy. So I don't know.
Still got fires, still got people dying. Give it a second, maybe talk about it later. Crap.
God, I mean, it's squirrely, dude. So,
by the way, this is the high-speed rail, right? This is not just the normal rail.
Yeah, this is the one we're looking to build. I don't know if the plans
Why are you destroying something that you already started to build? They already poured billions of dollars in this. This
right.
was the main thing that Elon Musk was complaining about, saying that they poured billions and nothing was done.
Well, probably similar to, you know, their firefighting budget. Maybe they just were like, yeah, we got to cap this off and allocate it somewhere else.
More than a firefighting budget, for me was the poor water management. So I looked at a podcast, you know Patrick Brett David, right?
Oh, yeah, sure.
He's in your area. He's in Miami. He was showing the reservoir next to the Palisades of 117 million gallons. You know the reservoirs you have on top just to bring water around?
Oh, yeah.
They closed the reservoir. It was empty and has been there for a long time. The reason why they closed it was apparently for avoiding dirt to get into the water to contaminate it and stuff. You know you have a wildfire problem. You don't want to tackle the hard part of managing controlled fires and stuff. Just fill up a fucking reservoir so it can bring water. It was 1 mile away from the Palisades. 1 mile away.
Yeah.
Empty. Dry.
Empty, I saw
nothing.
That. Fucking crazy, dude.
So it's like, how can I say it? You have 100 submarines. Okay, you're a general. That's what he said. That you're a general of an army. You know there's a war. You want to know your situation, how you can mitigate the war, or at least fight it. You know you have 100 submarines, but then you realize you only have 20 pilots, 20 people that can handle them. What do you do with the other 80 submarines? Like you have all this money, and exactly. You don't realize you have an issue. You should be knowing that. You should be aware of that. I wasn't aware. I know that California is big.
That's the epitome.
But this issue has been around for a while.
Yeah,
it's been around for a while.
That's the epitome of California, right there, in a nutshell. Hey, hold on one sec. Hold on. Give me like 30 seconds.
Okay. Vediamo qui che dicono. Sono rimasti in 6. Vuol dire che solo 6 parlano l'inglese. Chiudo qua.
Yo. All right, good. Back. Yeah, sorry to check on the wife, make sure we're all good. Yeah, dude, that's the epitome of how California has been running their show for a while. Is they have too many submarines and not enough people running it. Like, to go with that analogy, that's the issue. Is they know what to do, but for some reason they're just not doing it. I mean, Mel Gibson had a great, I think it was on Fox, and he was talking about his house because his house burned down or something like that. But he was talking about how literally they've known about this stuff for 30, 40, 50 years. And you have all these people, including some of the richest people on the planet, live in that state and pay taxes. And for some reason, you have these cities like San Francisco, San Diego, that some of the biggest and were the most beautiful cities in the country, now have been not only just devastated by the homeless population, but now you have LA, one of the most popular places in the world, is now destroyed because of the lack of leadership in that government. It's crazy, man. It's heartbreaking for sure. You know, we want to obviously say that after all this stuff. It's horrible that you got to deal with that. I got a buddy in LA. Thank goodness he evacuated. His home was fine. But it's just, you look at that stuff, and these folks pay the most than anybody else in the country.
You should be having the best of the best.
Yeah. And I relate this a lot to healthcare, where I'm like, it's ironic that America spends the most on healthcare than we do any other service. We spend billions and billions of dollars on healthcare.
Because you tackled it on the wrong side. But the problem with healthcare is like the wildfires. The problem with healthcare is like the wildfires. You tackle the problem on the wrong side. You are reactive, not proactive.
That's right.
I'm very curious of what this Kennedy will do, because he says things. Take away the vaccines. I'm a vaccine guy. Depends.
Yeah, sure.
Depends. Okay. Within limits. Yeah. But generally speaking, I like vaccines. They save my life from some perspective, like tetanus and stuff, especially a guy that works with metal all the time.
Yeah.
But he's the first guy in that sector that said we have an issue of food. Mm-hmm. Most of the issues, the average American uses healthcare 4 times more than the average Italian. It's not that we have free healthcare. That's not the reason why we live longer. We live longer. And we had this in the first conversation we ever had together, me and you. Yeah. We live longer because of the way we eat, the way we move, the relationships we have, the proactive approach. Mm-hmm. If you have a healthier America, by default, healthcare will become less expensive because we're going to use it less. It's a concept of demand and supply. And the same thing with wildfires. Yeah. Home insurance would not be a problem, and it would be cheap in California if the state of California would actually invest that money properly.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. And that goes with everything. I mean, but we have this weird thing, same thing in Florida, right? Like, why are these homes in Naples and St. Pete, and why are they getting destroyed? It's because we wanted to live on the beach.
Yeah.
That's why we're idiots and wanted to live on the beach when there's been flooding. Like places in Italy and Sicily and Puglia, all these places near the water, you don't get flooding. And even when you do, it's not to the point. It's been built. The infrastructure has been built 2,000 years ago to handle flooding, versus in Florida, we didn't build the infrastructure in the 60s, which is why a lot of these houses that you see online got destroyed because it wasn't built for it.
Or whenever we realized that we built in the wrong place, there was an earthquake in Amatrice. That was the last big earthquake of Italy. They rebuilt the city in another place, completely different.
Smart.
Because it was a city that was built in the medieval times, and so the structures were not anti-earthquake. And they realized, fuck this place. We're moving. That's what literally they said. Yeah.
And, even, again, like places like you mentioned, Sicily, right? I mean, they have issues with flooding. I mean, so does like Amalfi Coast and all that, but...
Yeah, because it's dry. When
dry.
It rains, they have more of an issue of water. Yeah. But then again, they have the water. They just manage it poorly. They have the water.
Yeah.
You know that mafia was born. Mafia was born in Sicily to manage the agricultural water.
Oh, I didn't know because it was the water. Yeah.
It was the water. Then they expanded all the rest, but mafia was the water.
Oh wow.
This is why I invest in water a lot. I invest in water.
Yeah, smart. Smart.
I mean, California showed the importance of it. I think it's pretty fucking clear.
Yikes. Yeah. Isn't that crazy how they say they ran out of water? But really, I don't necessarily think it was them running out of water. I just think it was the fact that the fire hydrants wasn't able to handle the load, the pressure. And
They didn't have pressure.
yeah. And I don't think the fire hydrant. But again, how are you not prepared for this in the biggest state in the country that is the most susceptible for wildfires? Like, how is this not fixed already? You should have. I have a fire hydrant here in Florida, like every 10 feet on my street. It's crazy, and we don't get any wildfires.
It's under the ground for you.
Yeah, we don't get any wildfires.
You're a very wet state.
That's what she said. Yeah, we're a very wet state.
Yep.
Which again,
You're a very wet
obviously.
state. Now back to California.
See.
Back to California.
Yeah.
For the first time in American elections, we saw the difference between Democrats and Republicans get very close.
Yeah.
Do you think that this mismanagement, the new election, this perfect wave I told you, could potentially lead for the first time angry people to actually turn completely red and have a red California?
Ooh, completely red? I don't know. Definitely majority.
Completely red.
Definitely majority. Definitely a majority of red by next year. By the next cycle.
You think California could be red?
Majority red by next year, for sure. Yeah, if this doesn't turn, and I think a lot of that is going to be twofold. Number one, I think millions of more people are going to leave. And I think a lot of Democrats are going to leave and go to another Democratic state like, Oregon or some other bullshit. And then I think a lot of people are going to come in, investors in Big Red. They're going to come in and they're going to change the state. That's what I think is going to happen. In the next 4 to 10 years, I think it'll be a red state. If I had to
this is the thing, unless you get some good Democrat governors and candidates.
Yeah.
What pisses me off is there are a lot of good people in the Democratic side.
Yeah.
They're not bad people.
Yeah.
Is that a lot of the pragmatism has been lost. A lot of the moderate, and there's been a lot of voice given mostly to the extreme side of it. Gavin Newsom, you had enough years to show that you were good, and you constantly showed crisis after crisis.
Yeah.
And it's not an attack towards the Democrats, and it's an attack towards Gavin Newsom.
Yeah, certain leaders.
Like even the last guy that presented the notion to extend the time for TikTok was as Democrat. The same guys that initially proposed the law. Does that make sense? They're good people.
Yeah.
It just pisses me off that there's not a turnover of people after they had enough chances to show what they were.
Yeah. I mean, that goes with politics as a whole, right? Like, that's what's so shitty about politics is there's some great, Republicans, great Democrat, but then there's also a vast majority of politicians that are just sleazeball scumbag fakers. And, you look at Gavin Newsom, whether he's blue or red, doesn't matter. Just the way he, again, talking about the wildfires, just the way he knew that this was going to be a problem at some point. It could have been in 2 years. It could have been in 20 years. But your job, your job
was aware of it.
is to fix the issue. And, we elect you on a local level because we think you're going to fix the issues. And when you come in and don't fix the issues and, you come in, I forget who flew into San Francisco. It was some big foreign leader. Damn.
Was a Chinese leader when they cleaned up San Francisco.
In a day.
It was Xi Jinping.
Xi Jinping. Of course it was. Because we hate Chinese so much we'll ban TikTok. But when he comes into America, we're going to treat him good. But yeah, he cleaned it up in a day and then, he left and that's it. So then it makes you think, okay, so we can get things done. But why don't we though? Fascinating.
Why don't we? And why don't we do what voters tell us to do?
Yeah.
TikTok is a perfect example. Did voters want TikTok banned? No.
Yeah.
They didn't want it. So
and then it's also like one of those things where it makes you think, okay, so we are in a democratic society, quote unquote, but then when it comes to something like this, if you ask, 330 million people if they wanted to ban TikTok, it would have been 100% no across the board. But why aren't we allowed to vote on that? Shouldn't we?
I say a good 70-30. 70-30. A lot of people hate TikTok.
Yeah, I can see that.
70-30.
And then, hey, just going back to this, I thought this was interesting too. I don't know if you saw this before, but this is how big the Palisades fire was in comparison to New York.
Wow.
Isn't that something? Fucking
Wow.
crazy.
But yeah, LA is also a very big city. I got my friend
Yeah.
there. It's like to go downtown, it takes him 1.5 hours of driving.
Yeah.
LA is a state. It's not a city.
I mean, dude,
It's like
it's up
London. It's like
Yeah.
London.
Yeah, it's like London. Yeah. I mean, it's up to 40,000 acres burned.
Yeah.
40,000 acres.
Yep.
Couldn't believe it. So crazy, dude. Yeah. It's horrible. So, hopefully this type of situation is going to open up people's eyes. But I think these, if I'm Trump, he's not going to say it, but things are looking good for him. The TikTok ban,
good.
He's able to save it if he wanted to. He's got people converting from blue to red. He's got this thing going on in a Democratic state. If this happened in Texas, this would be a huge issue.
The perfect storm for
Yeah.
him. The perfect storm for him and a shitstorm for Democrats. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
However, the question is, how will he use it and what will he be capable of doing? People voted him because they gave him a second chance. He has a huge responsibility. If he fucks up, it will be Democrats for the next 20 years. If he does good, it will be Republicans at least for the next 10.
Yeah.
So he has a bigger responsibility. I hope he's aware.
Agreed. Yeah, I think he's ready for it. And if we could take Canada and Greenland, that would be nice, wouldn't it?
Nah, we won't take them. But I think we're going to expand or have some good deal out of it.
Yeah. Well, the Greenland thing is fascinating. Maybe we could save it for another episode, but I think it's interesting, all the resources and the minerals that they have there. It's a very good future play for America. If you really think about it. Like,
Just
I think
imagine the American Eagle and Ra and military memes and shit.
Yeah, dude.
I found oil. You mean our oil? Love it.
It's ours now.